The anti-gamer activist organization Take This, which masquerades as a mental health outfit, is begging for money in order to keep their doors open. In fact, they are wanting $80,000, or they say they will shut down. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Roll this up over at thatparkplace.com. And the organization was brought into the public eye when it posted a blog post back in March encouraging game developers to denounce gamers for defending themselves from harassment from Sweet Baby Inc. The organization stated this: if you're reading this, you've probably been hearing about what's now being called Gamergate 2. It's the latest targeted harassment campaign within the game industry, and it's aimed at Sweet Baby Inc., a Montreal-based narrative development studio. So this is an outright lie. It's very well documented that this is a lie because it was Sweet Baby Inc. employees, Chris Kindred and Maya Kramer, who began the harassment campaign against a Brazilian gamer, Cabrutus Rambo, after he created a Steam curator list documenting the games that Sweet Baby Inc. worked on. That just so happened to operate as a boycott list for Sweet Baby Inc. and those games, given the fact that they were injecting woke ideology into the games that they worked on. That is their mission. It is on their website, despite the denials from the company's CEO, Kim Belair. I mean, she's said this on a number of occasions as well. I'll cover this in a lot of other videos and articles here on thatparkplace.com. But these Sweet Baby Inc. employees could not tolerate the Steam curator list and attempted to get Cabrutus Rambo canceled, and even tried to get Valve, Steam's parent company, to effectively steal his game library. Kindred posted this on X. The Steam curator harassment group Sweet Baby Inc. Detected is led by this person, Cabrutus Rambo. Here's them trying to be slick so they don't get reported, even with the discriminatory language filed off. The group itself still fails the code of conduct. Kindred then wrote this: anyway, report the F out of this group. He then concluded, and report the creator since he loves his account so much. So clearly trying to get the Steam curator list shut down, and then also trying to get Cabrutus Rambo's Steam account shut down, which, in my opinion, he's trying to steal from Cabrutus Rambo, using Valve to do so, because he paid for all of those games, and he's effectively trying to take them away from him. So if you want to go, I didn't go into the Maya Kramer stuff. If you want to, lots of articles again on thatparkplace.com to search into that. I've got all of this documented there. Nevertheless, despite pushing an easily refuted lie, the organization Take This then demanded developers denounce gamers opposed to Sweet Baby Inc. and their goals of injecting the objectively evil ideology of wokeness into video games. The organization wrote this: you may be inclined to be quiet or cautious, but that's actually not helpful. As noted in our resource, Empowering the Game Industry, a major lesson learned from Gamergate was the importance of taking a loud public stance. At the time, many studios were hesitant to address the hate and abuse from Gamergate in any meaningful way. The reasons varied, but usually this hesitation was born out of fear of losing profits or concern that taking a stance would attract the attention of the Gamergate mob. We can see over the course of this year that opposing gamers who are opposed to woke ideology does indeed lead to your games absolutely failing. Numerous examples of that, the two biggest being Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Concord, which only lasted 2 weeks before it was shut down. And then Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Warner Brothers Discovery, their parent company, had to take a $200 million impairment charge on the game. Massive, massive failures. Lots of money lost by those companies. Nevertheless, Take This then asserted this: in other words, failure to clearly and unequivocally denounce Gamergate and the harassment and abuse done in its name created a space for that hate and abuse to flourish, spread, and become normalized. Hate, harassment, and toxic behavior have no place in games. By taking direct, targeted action in a timely manner, we can mitigate further harm to talented, dedicated folks in games and help prevent additional resources of these harmful events. These people are always projecting. The ones actually pushing the hate are the ones pushing woke ideology, because woke ideology is indeed a hateful movement. It hates pretty much humanity itself, because it believes in things such as transgender ideology, this idea that men can become women and women can become men. This is absolutely false. It is impossible to do that. And in order for it to try to make it seem like that can be happen, it advocates literally mutilation, whether you self-mutilate or whether you have a doctor or someone else mutilate yourself. That is anti-human. That is anti-life. Absolutely evil ideology promoting something like that. And then another tentacle of woke ideology is obviously feminism. It does not recognize that men and women are distinct. It actually wants to subjugate men to women. Obviously, very evil ideology in that as well. And they're the ones who are actually promoting the hate. Woke ideology is the one that promotes hate. These people are always projecting. They're accusing you of what they are actually doing. So that is what Take This did back in March, clearly demanding that game developers denounce gamers opposed to something objectively evil. So they literally just want game developers to embrace their evil ideology by opposing the gamers that say no to that evil ideology. Less than 6 months after this post, the organization's research director and founder, Rachel Cowart, resigned from her position. She posted this on X. But before we get to that, I do want to note that we have this report here from Ars Technica's Ashley Belanger, where she described that Cowart founded the organization after encountering a 2019 nationally representative survey from the Anti-Defamation League. It found that nearly 1 in 4 respondents were exposed to extremist white supremacist ideology in online games. We're going to address that in a little bit, but she wrote this on X announcing that she had resigned from her position, saying, "I'm getting a lot of queries about this post, meaning I'm leaving games. I'm not leaving games. I just resigned from my former position." She wrote that on September 5th. It was in response to a post she wrote on September 3rd that said, "Onwards and upwards. If you're considering a career change, take the leap. Don't wait. I'm so grateful for the amazing people in the gaming and gaming adjacent community who have been part of my journey. Here's to the next chapter." So that did indicate that it sounded like she was leaving the video game industry and her analysis that she does. But she says she is still going to be operating in the games industry, and she just resigned from her position. So as far as the why she actually got into it, she actually admitted that that initial survey was completely bogus and bunk. She did that in a Game UX 2022 presentation. So this kind of just shows you what this organization is. They literally decided to, at least claim to decide to get into video games because of this survey. Then it admits 3 years later that the survey that got them into the video game industry is complete and utter bogus. She literally said this in 2019. The Anti-Defamation League reported that nearly 1 in 4 was 23% of game players are exposed to white supremacist ideology in game. And honestly, somebody asked me earlier how I got into this work because it seems like a very niche area, but it was this report. And when I saw that, I thought that number is so high, it can't be that high. It can't possibly be that high. And I called Daniel Kelly, who led this research, and he was like, "No, that's the number." And I was like, "Okay, we have to do something about that. That's terrifying." In 2021, they did another report looking at the same thing, and they found the number was closer to 1 in 10. But it's unclear whether this is actually a change in the landscape or just differences in sampling, as it is with research sometimes. So it went from 1 in 4 to 1 in 10 in less than 2 years. No, something tells me that the research was completely bunk, completely fraudulent, and completely made up. And you literally founded this organization just to spread woke ideology. That is exactly, in my opinion, why this organization is founded, why they do what they do. That is all that their purpose is. And they get federal funding from the Department of Homeland Security. This is back in 2022. The Department of Homeland Security revealed that Take This received a portion of almost $700,000 in grant money through the government's Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program. It says here, this joint project from the Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism, Take This, and logically seeks to develop a shared framework for understanding extremism in games. This includes the development of a set of best practices and centralized resources for monitoring and evaluation of extremist activities, as well as a series of training workshops for the monitoring, detection, and prevention of extremist exploitation in gaming spaces for community managers, multiplayer designers, lore developers, mechanics designers, and trust and safety professionals. So you can see that this organization is literally just anti-gamer. They don't like video gamers. They want to push their woke ideology on video gamers, and they're going to take government money to try and create studies and research that shows how gamers are bad and evil when they're the ones who are the ones pushing woke ideology. They're the ones pushing evil. And now, though, despite the government funding, despite all of this stuff, they're begging for money. And a post to the company's website at the end of August, Dr. Raphael Boccamazzo, the organization's clinical director, wrote this. This might be the most bittersweet post I've ever written in my tenure with Take This. You may have noticed our plea for financial support earlier this year. As hard as we've worked to make up that gap, we still need significant help. Without your support, Take This and all of our impactful programs will cease to exist. After listing out what he views as the organization's accomplishments, he said this: if we don't raise $80,000 by the end of September, all of this will disappear. So the organization could be shutting down if they don't raise $80,000 by the end of September. And the only thing I can think of to say about that is good. This organization does nothing to benefit the common good. It literally is attacking people for being opposed to a woke, evil ideology. And they don't do anything to actually improve society. They are literally draining taxpayers. They're taking money from grant funds that should be directed elsewhere. This is just a bad organization. It should be shut down, and it does not deserve to exist whatsoever. So I'm glad that they are begging for money. I hope they don't get it. They probably will. They'll probably get money from Bungie or one of these other big video game developers that has fully been converged and has embraced their woke ideology, despite massive amounts of failure, despite significant layoffs across the board. But they'll probably still find some way to fund this organization, despite it being despite it being opposed to the people that they're trying to get to sell their games to. And what ends up is going to happen is that they're going to continue to decline, and hopefully this organization will be shut down as these video game developers potentially suffer the same fate. And we know that a lot of these developers have indeed been shut down in recent years. Two biggest ones, Volition after their Saints Row debacle, and then Luminous after the Forspoken debacle. So I hope they do get shut down. Doubtful that it will happen. They'll probably get some corporate backer, but this organization does nothing good for society and should indeed be shut down. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.